be talking about goal setting and the importance of setting goals when you are on an intermittent fasting or a weight loss journey. What's going on? My name is Ryan Johnson from Intermittent Fasting with Ryan. Over the last year, I've lost 60 pounds following an intermittent fasting routine. And if you are new here and interested in sustainable weight loss tips and strategies, be sure to click subscribe now. Hey, so again, over the last year, I've lost 60 pounds, and I've been able to keep the weight off for about 3 months now. And I just wanted to kind of talk today about the importance of setting goals, both long and short term, in order to meet your fitness goals. So I set out, goals have always been important to me in achieving anything as it relates to fitness. But one of the things that I have done in the past is because I was only focused on short-term goals and didn't have that long-term goal in mind, whether I met my short-term goal or if I fell short of my goal, I would never stay consistent on a weight loss or a fitness journey because I was always concerned with the short-term goal. So one of the things that I did over the last year to kind of get myself back on track and kind of reset is take a long-term approach to health and fitness. So my long-term goal has been to find a way to lose the weight and live healthy sustainably. So that has been my goal, and as a result of that, one of the things that I did in order to meet that early on is in the first month of intermittent fasting, I was losing on average, I want to say like 3 pounds a week. I lost like 12 pounds in the first month, but that I was losing weight too fast because I've done this weight loss roller coaster in the past. I knew that if I went too hard, I would just gain the weight back. So I made a conscious effort to take a slower approach. And if you watch any of my week of eating videos, I'll leave a link up here if you haven't seen those before. You can go back and watch them. You can see my diet isn't too extreme. And part of the reason for that is I try to not make too big of changes because I want to do this sustainably. But even with that being said, my long-term goal was to find a way to do it sustainably, but I have always had short-term goals throughout this last year and plan on continuing to have short-term goals because while long-term goals will keep you on the path, you also need those little short-term markers to kind of keep you motivated. So for me, one of those short-term goals was every week I was taking a progress photo. And there's a few videos on the channel you can go back and see. I'll link some of those up here as well as in the description below. I did a time-lapse photo every week. So taking those weekly photos was kind of just an example of a weekly goal that I'd set for myself. And then at about the 6-month mark is when I started making my week of eating videos. So then I had the goal to record and share everything that I had been doing. But those are just some examples of shorter goals. And having those short-term goals, will keep you engaged because just as humans and as people, we are not very good at thinking long-term and staying motivated for the long term. So, again, that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. If you're joining me on the live stream, welcome. If you have any questions, leave those in the chat below, and I'll be sure to get to each and every one of those. And if you're watching this on the replay, if you have any questions or comments, again, you can leave those in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer each and every one of those. So when it comes to goal setting, the thing that I want to talk about is the importance of, there's an acronym called SMART goals. And I am at the point now, I just reached my year on intermittent fasting. Again, I'm down 60 pounds. But kind of this idea of losing weight over the year, I have now surpassed that goal. So it's time for me to set my next short-term goal, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. Again, the whole reason I started this YouTube channel is to kind of share my experience with you and kind of take you on this journey with me. So I'm going to be picking my goal over the next few weeks, and I'm going to talk about exactly how I'm going to do that in this video. So I'm going to use the acronym SMART. If you have never heard the acronym SMART before, it is a very good acronym when it comes time to picking and setting a goal. And SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And I'm going to go through each and every one of those bits of the acronym as it relates to picking your goal, and then I'll kind of share some of my thoughts when it comes to what I think my next goal is going to be. So when it comes time to set your goal, you want to make sure you're picking a SMART goal. And going through the acronym, the first letter of the acronym, S, stands for specific. When setting your goal, it needs to be specific. And the reason that's important is because whenever you are aiming for something, you have to know what you're aiming at if you hope to have any hope of hitting the target. So it needs to be specific. So one of the things that I am thinking about for my next goal, let's see, it is the end of April right now. It's about to be May. My birthday is coming up in September. I'm going to be 35 years old, and I have been out of the Army for 5 years now. I used to be in the Army. I got out about 5 years ago. My wife and I got out of the Army. I was in the infantry. I'm a U.S. Army Ranger. I used to be in great physical shape, but I have fallen so far from that. One of the things I was thinking about was for my 35th birthday, it would be nice to kind of get back into Army shape. So I was thinking about, maybe taking a PT test here in 3 or 4 months, with the goal being to max out the PT test. And that's kind of the goal that I'm going for. But getting back to specific, that is a specific goal. I want to score a perfect score on the Army physical fitness test. Now, a non-specific goal would be, I want to be in great shape, right? That's not very specific, because great is subjective. Did you get it? Did you not? You want to set a specific goal. So I'm thinking about, hey, I want to score a maximum score on the Army physical fitness test. The next M is measurable, and that falls right into specific. Your goal has to be measurable. You have to know, did you reach your goal? Did you not reach your goal? And this is a power tip for you. If your goal is measurable, just because you didn't reach your goal, the thing that you have to remember is, if you don't reach your goal, you're not a failure. Maybe there's some things you need to tweak, but you have to be able to measure your goal, because you want to know if you hit it. But just because you didn't hit it doesn't mean you're an outright failure. If I had the goal of scoring a perfect on the PT test in September, but I didn't, and I only scored 85%, well, yes, I didn't hit my goal of scoring a perfect on the physical fitness test, but I still did a lot of great things along the way. So it's important that, although it is measurable, it's important to know whether or not you hit it. Even if you don't hit it, again, you just got to understand that if you don't hit it, what does that mean? It may just mean you need to make an adjustment. So it has to be specific. It has to be measurable. The next thing is, it has to be attainable. Going back into that measuring, did you hit your goal? Did you not hit your goal? Well, one of the things that you need to do when you're goal setting is you need to make sure that the thing that you're going for is actually possible, because you don't want to set yourself up for failure. So the third thing you need to make sure is your goal attainable? So now in my example, I want to max the Army physical fitness test. Is that attainable? Well, the Army physical fitness test consists of 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. I have been getting in the gym a little more recently, but I think I have to look up. I think to max the push-ups, I need to do probably 74, 75 push-ups in 2 minutes. I need to do probably 72, I think, or maybe it's 78 sit-ups in 2 minutes, and I have to be able to run 2 miles in 13 minutes. The last time I did push-ups, I was able to do like 45. I haven't done sit-ups in like 5 years, and I haven't run over a mile in 5 years. So could I do that right now? No, I couldn't. But could I do that in September? Well, knowing where my physical fitness is at right now, and knowing what it takes to be able to max a physical fitness test, yes, I do think that is attainable. And that's the third thing in the goal. It has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be attainable. So I think for me personally, maxing out the physical fitness test in what is, let's see, May, June, July, August, and 4 months time to train up for that, yes, I think that is attainable. Now, the next part of the acronym is relevant. Is for So again, in SMART, the next one is relevant. Is your small goal relevant to your overall goal? So my overall goal is to find a sustainable way to live fit and live healthy for the rest of my life. Does maxing out the Army's physical fitness test at the age of 35, does that fall within my larger goal of sustainable long-term fitness? And yes, it does. The reason that's important is because, we only get so much time in the day, and the real way that we're going to maximize our potential and do everything that we want to do is if all of our small goals kind of line up with our larger goal. A good example of that is over this last year, taking my weekly progress photos and starting the YouTube channel. Those were small goals that I had for myself, and they lined up with my larger goal because they helped me to journal, they helped to keep me accountable, to keep me on the path, and that was something that contributed to my overall success. So the fourth thing in the SMART goals is it has to be relevant. And then the final thing for your goal is the T, and it has to be time bound. And the reason that it needs to be time bound is because you have to set a deadline, because when you set a deadline, that's really when you kick yourself into gear and you make sure that you make it happen. So for me, is this taking the Army physical fitness test and maxing it in September, is that time bound? Well, yes, and the nature of the goal is I'm even saying on my 35th birthday, I want to take it and pass it. That's time bound because, I've got 4 months time to get there. So again, picking goals and striving towards goals is absolutely important and essential when you're on a weight loss and a physical fitness journey. So for me, I think I'm probably going to end up going with that one because, again, being in the Army was a big part of who I was. And honestly, if I had to be real with myself, probably getting out of the Army is probably one of the things that contributed to me putting the weight back on, not just not being physically active, but the Army was a big part of my identity, and kind of stepping away from that for a little bit kind of didn't put me in the best place. But I'm in a great place now. I'm looking forward to everything that life has to offer, and I'm looking forward to this next step in my process. And if you want to join me on that process, again, I really appreciate each and every one of you that is watching my journey. I really enjoy sharing this stuff. But the next thing that I'm going to do for me personally is I have a tendency, I can get wrapped up in the numbers as far as the weight and appearance goes. I want to look good. I want to have a muscular body. But I know the thing that is really important is that I'm physically fit. And I feel like that's something that has been lacking from my routine over the last few months is that physical fitness aspect. While I have been working out, I haven't necessarily been working towards a goal. So I'm going to use, my 35th birthday coming up and trying to get back into shape. I'm going to use that as a thing to kind of inspire me and motivate me to reintroduce fitness for fitness sake into my routine. So again, I really appreciate you joining in, and if you're joining me on the live stream, please go back and watch this on the replay. Again, talking about setting your SMART goals. There's 5 things that you need for your goal to be SMART. It has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be attainable, it has to be relevant, and it has to be time-bound. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. And if you want to join me for any of the group coaching calls that I'm doing, please feel free to join me on my Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description below. I'm doing a monthly group coaching call. And if you just want to support the channel, again, you can go over and support me on Patreon. Thanks again for joining in, and I'll catch you in the next video.